Welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a powerful form of hypnotherapy, I'm here to remind you to slow down, trust your intuition, and really deeply listen to your horse. And this will make for the best co-creative dances possible, whether you're on the ground or connecting on their backs. Thank you so much for being here, and here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. We're starting a whole new series. I'm getting chills thinking about it. It's called the Animal Wisdom Series. I'm here with Jana Wagner. She is my favorite animal communicator, and we're actually going to start with her new horse, Kenny. He's a gorgeous thoroughbred, and I'm going to let her take it away and explain a little bit more about his background, his life, and what messages he has to share. So, Jana, thank you again so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited about this idea. Yeah, I can't wait to share. So, hi everyone. My new horse, Kenny, is an off-the-track thoroughbred. He is 9 years old. He's coming 10, so he'll be 10 on January 1st. And I met him last year on January 10th. I was starting to look for a new horse. My mare, Aurora, many of you know, she passed away. And so Chip and I needed some time before I went looking for this next horse. And on the first of last year, or this year, on the new year, I said, okay, Roar, whoever you got for me, send them in, we're ready. And within 10 days, Kenny literally found us. I think I put out one feeler to a friend asking where she found her thoroughbreds, and let's just say all the dots connected. He was 20 minutes up the road, close by, exactly what I was looking for, everything. But I'll tell you what sold me on him was, it's cold, it's January. They brought him down to the indoor for me. The lady said, let's free lunge him so that he's quiet for you. And I said, okay. So I thought, great, I'll watch him move. That's a great idea. And of course, me being me, the animal communicator, I was like, I'm going to tune into him and just see what's going on for him, what's he thinking about as he's doing what he's doing. The instant I tuned in with him, he stopped running and turned and looked straight at me. And I thought, oh no, that is a horse you want. It was so magical. I have never had a horse tune in with me instantaneously. It was just incredible. And of course, he stopped, walked right to me, and I was like, ooh. And the lady's like, make him go. So I was like, ooh, hey, you better keep going. Okay, we'll talk later. So I tried him that day. I really liked him. The lady said, why don't you come again tomorrow and ride him again? And I thought, well, that's a really good idea. And it gave me time to reach out to one of my thoroughbred trainer friends. And I sent her his name and his info. And I said, what do you think? Do you know anything about his family or about him? And she replied almost immediately and said, his daddy has really good-minded babies. Get him. That's really all I needed to know. I did also send pictures and a couple of questions to my naturopath who I work with, because I said, do you see anything I should run screaming from? Because he had some wear and tear, but I didn't see anything that I was really, that would have told me, no, don't do it. Don't pursue this horse. And she came back with, well, I kind of like that other young horse you were looking at, but this one's nice too.
Good, oh good.
But we had a good talk about it. And what she pointed out really, really stuck with me. She said, clearly you have a connection with this horse, and that is at the top of your list. You need to have a connection. The rest of it, she goes, yeah, there's maintenance, there's wear and tear, but we can work with that. And so I paid for him that day and I brought him home and promptly just decided to let him have a break. He raced until he was 7. He won $500,000 on the track. He just so kind, so honest, and tries so hard for every person he's ever been with. Um, it's been really neat. You know, a lot of horses. Let me back up a little bit. What's really interesting to me about an off the track thoroughbred is all of their statistics, all their information, all their owners, everything is online for you to look at. It is all there. You can see everywhere they've been. You can find people. You can ask them questions. I am Facebook friends with one of his former owners who is really cool, you know, big advocate in the thoroughbred racing industry. I actually don't know which track she works at, but she's very involved. How cool is it that I could reach out and say, hey, how does he feel about the equine dentist? Am I going to need sedation? You know, hey, how does he feel about this? Do you know anything about this? And she's very happy to like share with me. How cool is that? Um, and not to mention that these thoroughbreds have so much heart, so much try, and their quote unquote naughty behaviors come out of they just want you to take a breath and listen a minute
Yes.
because they have such a good work ethic that I found with Kenny, his frustration comes out of, no, Jana, that's not how I need you to do this. And when I got him home, the first time I rode him, I found his FU button and his spook and spin on that first ride. And I said, oh, okay, we need to redirect. That's fine. We can figure it out. So I just decided to just let him have a break. I just decided to hang out, groom him, mess with him, just enjoy each other. And I thought, well, maybe we can do some liberty. And he thought that that was super weird. It was brand new to him. He thought that was super weird. And he's like, I don't get this. And his eyes would get really big and he'd get this look on his face and he'd go, too much, too much. And he would just walk away. I'm like, okay, bye. Come back later if you want, whatever. And then Chip and I would do some liberty or our positive reinforcement that Chip loves to do. And Kenny would come over and watch Chip and I doing things. And then he would say, can I try that? And it's just the neatest thing because I have this older 25-year-old quarter horse that just thrives on these things. He loves it, that Kenny can watch. And it blows my mind how much Kenny has learned just by watching me do things with Chip. And then Kenny will come over and say, can I try that too? And instead of having to push it in him and push through it and get into like a really stuck, frustrated place where he doesn't feel like he can process because it's information overload, he can just walk away. Or he can watch and then try it himself. It's just fascinating. Should I tell you about his name?
Yes.
When I bought him, his name was McGee. And they asked me to keep that. And I said, yep, that's no problem. Of course, I brought him home and I asked him how he felt about his name. And he said, it's fine. It's my name. And I said, okay. I always ask all my animals about their names. And my dogs have always told me their names, my cats too. Horses usually come with a name. So I even asked Chip and Chip goes, oh yeah, I've always been Chip. so we kept it. Anyhow, fast forward a little time later, and I said, "Hey, McGee," and he goes, "That's not my name. I have a name." And I said, "Oh, what is it?" He said, "Well, it's C now." That's his jockey club name. And I said, "Okay, well, we'll call you C. That's great, C now." And so, I let everybody know that we're going to call him this, not McGee. And next thing I know, one day I'm trying on a bridle, took his picture, took it off. He says, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I just wanted to try this on." And he goes, "You're not going to ride?" And I said, "No, we're not going to do that for a while. We're going to have a long break." And I said, "I'm probably just going to come out here and try stuff on you and take pictures and take it off." And he goes, "Okay." And I said, "So just so you know, you're a Barbie horse now." And he goes, "Well, then you can call me Ken."
That's cute.
That's when I learned he has a really funny sense of humor. And I said, "Is that what you want me to call you?" And he kind of was like, "Well, no, no, I was just playing around." I said, "All right. Well, if you ever want to pick another name, you let me know." Well, this whole idea was completely like foreign to him. He's like, "What do you mean pick a name?" So this began this whole process of, I basically told him, I said, "Why don't you try on a few names and then you just let me know which one you pick." So we went through a bunch of names. The ones I can remember were like Owen, Zach, which I thought was really funny because the names he was picking were like from those 90s TV shows I grew up watching, right?
Yes.
And then one day I said something to him and I called him C, and he goes, "It's Kenny." And I said, "Oh, is that what you decided on?" And he said, "It's always been Kenny." So I said, "Okay, we have a name." And I kid you not, like, it's so fascinating to watch an animal when they come into themselves like that and choose who they want to be because you've given them the space. He just started to light up and open up in ways that were just really exciting. He started to want to connect even more with me. And, you know, now we have this whole song because when I'm teaching him something new and he's not sure, I say, "Can he do it?" "Yes, he can." And then
So
I'll say,
cute.
"Can he take steps?" And he'll go, "Okay, okay, I can do it." And he'll literally take 2 steps and then he'll get this look of surprise. He's like, "I did it. Did you see I did it?" I was like, "Yes, you did." So anyhow, his name is now Can He Do It? Because every time he gets stuck, I can just say, "Can he do it?" And then he goes, "Yes, I can." It's so delightful.
It sounds like so much more playful and full of joy to get to that space with a horse, right?
Yeah. He is he's a lot of things. He is also the embodiment of my 3 other horses. Um, just all of their qualities. And I did not expect that he would be the one to carry the torch and continue the work with me when Toby passed. Toby, my corgi, passed last year, and he is the reason I do everything I do because he came into my life and opened all the doors and made everything happen and helped me make all the connections, literally made all the connections for me. And I really thought my puppy was going to be the torch carrier from Toby, but it's not, it's Kenny. And Kenny has just stepped into this space where I don't even ask him things. We're in the moment together. We're doing whatever we're doing, and he'll just share something with me before I'm even having the thought. He makes me show up fully. He makes me be my authentic self. He makes me use my telepathy and practice it every single time. And he's the one that brought my attention to the fact that when I'm not focused, I have like two different voices going in my mind sometimes. And one day I'm riding and I asked him just to walk forward. And then my other voice in my mind is going, and then we'll do this and this and this and this and this. And he stopped and he swiveled his ears back to listen to me. He goes, could you make up your mind?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, holy heck, what was that? And then it helped me really start to pay attention to how I think and how I process and how I go through things, because Chip is just kind of like, well, I know my job and I know what she's going to ask next. So I'm just going to ignore all that chatter and
He's
carry
used to
on.
it. Yeah, he's used to
Yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah. Not Kenny. If you're not, you have to show up and be really clear, or he's just not going to participate. And you can't just take your dressage whip or spurs and go tap, tap, go forward. He's like, not until you tell me exactly what you want. And that's what I love about him, because he's my opportunity to do things differently, but he's also making me level up. There's no way around it. I have to level up. And I love to learn and I love to grow, and I get bored very quickly if I'm not learning. So it's interesting to move. Toby's still around and still very much involved. He just has a different role than he used to. But Toby taught me about stepping back and reflecting, and that backslide is not actually backslide. It's just pausing and reflecting and looking at where you're going or where you've been, and being with that and honoring that and bringing those things forward as you move forward, right? And Kenny is bringing this next level to that of moving forward without the tension, moving forward with more ease and grace. That it's not always no. Sometimes it's just, I need you to wait. So sometimes when you have a horse going, nope, is it really no? Or is it, I just need you to wait? And this is what I've learned by doing Liberty with Kenny. Well, I don't really want to call it Liberty because it's not really. There's someone else called it free conversation, which I thought was an interesting way to describe it. So we're having this conversation when we work on the ground. And one day I heard myself say, Kenny, move off. That's not something I've been taught. So he put that in my knowing. And I said, Kenny, move off. And he got this look on his face and he walked away. And I thought, wow, that was cool. And then I said, Kenny, come back. And he got this look on his face and he turned and he walked back to me. And I was like, let's see if I can do it again. So I said, Kenny, move off. And he did. And I called him back and I said, okay, Kenny, move off into a circle. I kid you not. This horse turns, walks off, walks a big circle, comes back to me. And I was like, holy, that just happened.
So cool.
But it's been tremendous because he's showing me what he knows and then inviting me into that space. And so sometimes instead of, here's where he says, here's where you can find more connection, is when you wait for the invitation. So maybe we're initiating sometimes and asking the questions, but what if you flipped it around so that you are asking your horse to extend an invitation?
Ooh, I just got chills from that, Jana.
Okay. Because I also started to realize recently that my goal for helping him be more relaxed with less tension and moving with ease, I thought this was my goal. It's been his the whole time. He's the one gave me the idea. He just let me think it was mine for a while.
Yeah, let's ask him some more what else he would like to share. That would be awesome.
He would like to share about moving through life with ease.
Mm.
He says that whether you're a horse person or not, every person on this planet identifies or is at least aware of grace being synonymous with the horse. And he said that he believes it's one of the things that horse is here to share with human, because because of ego, human has a harder time connecting with the aspect of grace that everyone already has. He says you don't need to learn it because you already have it. He said what needs to be learned is that you can give ego a seat at the table, but you need to tell ego to stay in their chair.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I love that.
You stay in your chair. And he said, if you just watch us, we can show you what grace looks like physically. And then if you feel into what you see as we move, you can feel what grace feels like. And when your mind tries to tell you that you're being fooled, you can look to us and watch us again. Oh, and that is embodiment of grace.
That's beautiful.
He said that is how you can reconnect to what you already have. So when you see us with tension, let yourself wait, because if you feel into your grace, the tension will dismiss itself. He said bodies move into tension as an attempt to get your attention.
Yes, absolutely.
He has more.
Yeah,
He wants
he's got the mic. Go for it.
now. He wants to extend this invitation now, that when you have a horse specifically with an undiagnosable, is that a word? Undiagnosable unsoundness or lameness that no diagnostics can find. He said, I want to extend the invitation of starting to be curious and asking where the tension is, because the tension is actually the unsoundness, not necessarily a mechanical problem. And where can you bring grace into the tension to create the space? He said most unsoundnesses come out of compression and needing space. He said he knows it's a bit of a trick to locate, but it's actually very easy to do. He said Jana knows how to do this because she showed me. So it's very, very simple to just close your eyes and feel into your body and say, hey, body, where am I holding the tension and denying my grace? And he said, when you find that, your body will tell you very quickly. So just listen, just go with it. Don't question, just go with it. And he said that then you can gather up that tension into a ball and then just do a very simple clearing statement, destroy and uncreate this tension. And then as that leaves, watch the grace flow in. He said, for me, the grace looks like liquid honey. He just told me he quite likes honey too. I didn't know that. Um, he said it's like liquid honey. And he said he has another experiment for the humans to try. He said, go to your cabinet, get out the honey, get a scoop and the spoon, maybe hold it over the sink. It sounds like it's going to be messy. Um, get some in a spoon and just watch it dribble into your hand, and then feel the honey. Notice the texture, notice the stickiness, notice the movement. So even where it's sticky, there's movement, because like a lot of horses get sticky, right? So he says moving the honey in your fingers will also help you get the feel for how you articulate. Um, do you press hard? Do you move with it? Do you force it to move? How do you move? He said it's a really good way for human to understand how they move and articulate their bodies, especially their hands. And he said it will inform you a great deal about how you touch us.
That's beautiful experiment. Quick question, because he talked about breathing into our bodies to feel the tension. Do we just then imagine we are the horse's body when we do that for them?
The way I do it is I sync up with my animals. So in this case, specifically Kenny, I'll sync up and it's like two bubbles floating, and then they float and they come together and just bump into each other. You know how like when you blow bubbles, they just go boom. They
Yeah.
don't become one another. They just go boom and they float off together, right? So I will see my bubble and theirs and I'll say, "Can I sync up with you?" Permission's important. Um, Permission is just good manners. And also then the other being has an understanding of what your intentions are, because otherwise you're just coming at them and they're like, what are you doing? But when we sync up that way, we can have a transference or exchange of information without having to use the words. It's very, very cool. So I sync up and then I'll just say, where do we have the shared tension? Can you show me in my body? Or sometimes I'll start to see a visual of theirs and I'll feel it. I'll see it in theirs, but also feel it in mine. And then I'll say, okay, what needs to happen so that both of us can gather this tension and just move it out? And a lot of times when we're intuitive or deeply feeling empathetic people, we don't have words because we don't need them. And if we just let ourselves really feel into that space, it will, what happens for me is I'll start to like see these like balls of excess energy just sort of materialize. And I'm like, oh, there's the tension. And then I'll start to visualize just gathering it all up. And then I'll just capture it in my hand and just go, destroy and uncreate, out it goes. You can add as if by magic if you want, but it'll shift it for both of you then.
I love that.
And
Thank you.
yeah, sometimes all they need from you is to recognize that they need a witness to be in the space with them to move it. What blew me away is that I did this with Kenny recently. I was rubbing his neck really fast and I was talking excitedly. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. You did so good today. And his neck went hard. He tossed his head. He started to get very excited, and but it didn't feel good excited. And I said to my friend, I go, "Ooh, what do you think that was?" And she goes, "Whatever it is, he didn't like it." And because she could see his face, but I felt his whole body just go. So I stopped. I just stopped, got really present, asked him to sync up with me. I said, "Kenny, what's that about?" And I kept my hand on his neck. And he didn't even use words. He just exchanged all this knowing with me, and I could just feel all the emotions just coursing and moving, and just, it was overwhelming, right? And so I sat in that with him, and I said, what do you need? Do you want to clear it? I didn't say any of this out loud. I'm thinking all of it, right? Telepathy with him. And he says, I'm going to release it now. I said, okay. And all I did was hold in the space with him. And he went, and instantaneously, all his hard muscle from that tension gone. Neck was soft. He was relaxed. And now every time I rub his neck really fast and talk excitedly, he's like, he gets this smile on his face, and he's like, oh man, I did so good, you know? And the coolest thing is, you hear people talk all the time about dysregulation or learning to self-regulate. Well, how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways to do it, but I'll be danged, just being in that space with him and moving through that day, he does it himself now. The last time I rode last week, Christmas Eve, um, I felt him start to go into this tension trigger state. And before I could even offer him support, I just got really present, and he goes, ah. He has figured out how when he goes into an overload state, he can just release it and reset himself and carry on. And I was like, that is incredible. That fast, right?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Sometimes all it takes is for you and them to have that one singular interaction where there's this exchange of information and understanding, and then they learn a new skill because of it. And he's admittedly a very rewarding horse to work with because he does shift so fast. He learns really quickly, and he's so willing. Chip, my quarter horse, he has like a PhD in what he does. He's so educated, but he also prefers to take his time shifting something. So I might work with him and then see him be different over a week. He doesn't give me that instantaneous feedback. It's just not his style. So it's been really exciting to work with Kenny because he's so fast that like you can't miss it, and then you get that confirmation so quickly, and then you're like, wonder what happened if I tried that again, right? And then you start to learn a new skill, and there's where Kenny's reminding me again about what he said about embodying that grace, showing up fully in your authentic self. And he believes that when you allow, he says he would like to invite everyone to make friends with grace and see what's there for you.
I
Make it
love
your
that.
own.
And I want to go back to something we were chatting about just before we started recording. And he felt it was really important to distinguish between identity versus knowing who you truly are.
Okay, yes, Kenny's like, oh, I love this topic. He said a racehorse, an off the track thoroughbred, is a great way to explain this because you have your jockey club name, you have your race record, you have all your stats, just like any other sports player has. But don't those sports players have other lives besides their sports? He says, don't we have other lives beside our sport? So while he has all his statistics, he doesn't, that tells the world who he is and gives him that identity. He says, that's great because now you can find me, but it's not my identity and it's not how I see myself. And so he says that it's wise to consider that your identity is there so that people can find a resource or find you. Okay, that makes sense. So that other people can find you. And then when they meet you or work with you, invite them to shift into a space of, okay, it is that simple. I'm like, how do you do that? He said, just invite them to show up fully in their authentic self. And of course, my mind says, but how? And he says, you just extend the invitation and they will come into their knowing and be able to locate it. He said, sometimes you got to clean up the tape. Oh, so that's how you come through. So you bring you and your identity in, look for those cords or the pieces of tape, and you're just gonna take out those pieces, clean up those pieces of tape, just like clearing out the tension. And then once all that tape's gone, what's there?
Then you could be your shiny diamond self, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like clearing out your energetic cords that are no longer serving you, right?
And then what do you do after the cords are gone? You step into that space, you accept the invitation, and you allow yourself to see what's there and what your authentic self is. And this is what is cool about a horse, because they're so big and they're so quick to reflect you back to you. Your dogs and cats will do it too. They're just a little different about it. Horses will tell you right away. They'll reflect back who your authentic self is, and then they'll hold you to it. And they'll expect you to show up as your authentic self every time. So if you choose to accept his invitation, expect things to happen fast.
Yeah. So keep your ego sat at the table, sitting at the table. Invite grace. Notice where your tension is. Allow it to release. Allow grace to flow through like honey. Feel that texture of it. Notice how you interact with that honey. And then once you meet someone new, especially, and you work with them, be sure to just allow yourself to release what's not serving you and step into your spotlight. Does that about sum it up?
Yes. And then that reminds me, spotlight. I did this fun thing where I was learning about my own astrology and how to like look up what you're here for, like how to find that out, because we leave ourselves clues. So when I was learning about that, I decided, because I had my horses' birthdays, I was gonna see what their purposes were. And while they have two totally different zodiacs for that North Node, which is your purpose, what I found was they have the same purpose. And they both have come here to learn how to stand in their light and how to be seen and to be recognized. So while Chip is a champion in the show ring, he won everything with me. He's incredible. Kenny was very successful, won a lot of really big things. Because that's human measure and identity, they still were looking for how do they come in and stand in their power and stand in their light and that spotlight without the accolades, and like really being them and showing up in the world with what they have to offer. And darned if it's not aligned with my own purpose.
And what's your
about
purpose?
I can't remember exactly because I don't remember, but it is a lot about stepping into your authentic self and bringing forward what you're here to bring forward and sharing that and having the courage to share it, which is where I get tripped up a bit sometimes. So I might sound like I got it all together, but I have these days where I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I should say that out loud. But then you show up authentically, and then you start to see how people receive you. And it's beautiful and encouraging. And I mean, I'm coming up on a year of being with Kenny, and I thought I was getting a horse that was a lot more ready to go and do a lot more riding. We barely trot still under saddle, but my gosh, have I learned so much about him just doing it his way, just listening and taking his lead. And I say that he's my horse that I'm going to do everything differently with, not because I want to learn new things. I like to learn new things, but because he's making me learn it in a new way, because the ways I've been taught since I was 8, or all the things that I've learned that have worked over the years are not going to do it with him. He's next level, and he wants me to level up, and the only way to do that is to keep listening and taking his lead. So we're taking the time it takes, and it's infinitely more rewarding. And I've had like very, very little frustration working with this horse and figuring things out. When something's not working, he's just asking me to wait and try something else.
So he's basically
Um,
asking you to be your authentic self and use your telepathy full on while you're working with him, right?
yeah, yes. And not go into rider trainer exercise rider mode.
Right.
Uh, Sit that little trainer mind aside and just be here with me. Be your authentic self. Let me show you what I know, and then you can show me what you know. Isn't that like what Ray Hunt said about I'm gonna get the quote wrong, but like uh first the horse moves, then you move with them, something like this. It's about kind of the back and forth exchange of leadership that is what partnership is, right? And through all these things is where I'm finding the connection, because it's been my own observation and it's where I'm at right now. So my opinion could change. Right now, a lot of what I see is there's a lot of brilliant people sharing their ways of teaching partnering, but they're not maybe fully getting across how to connect and the connection piece. And it's not just horses, I see it in a lot of places. And connection's one of these things that comes out of spending the time and being present and showing up fully as your authentic self. The connection starts to like kind of float in and be there. Syncing up with them can accelerate the connection. Heart breathing, like you teach, accelerates the connection. Tapping into your intuition accelerates the connection. So, okay, Kenny says his advice for connection is to remind yourself to watch for it as you're moving through and working together. So he still feels the fastest way to connection is through partnership. And partnership, he feels, is the exchange of leadership throughout every conversation. And he says this is how conversation becomes its own healing modality, because now, oh golly, now you're allowing yourself to open up and really connect with that other person because of the conversation. Oh my gosh, I hope that came out right, because I just had such an epiphany. I've been trying to puzzle out how conversation heals. It does. It's incredible. And it's this syncing up and partnering and connecting and this exchange of back and forth and back and forth and listening back and forth to one another, and listening to listen rather than listening to respond or react, right? And
And showing up as your authentic self, right?
right,
And going
right.
back to what you first said was asking them to offer you an invitation. That helps you with the exchange of leadership back and forth. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. Like, what is their incentive to be with us? Maybe that's something to take home for your own homework. And what is my horse's incentive to be with me, to spend time with me? And what I'm finding is because my friend April and I, we've been planning riding days together because she and I noticed the value of Kenny being able to watch Chip take a rider around and do weird things, because then he's like, oh, I can do that too. And every time she comes out, I'll get chores done. I'll get everything set up so that when April gets there, we're ready to ride. And I'll poke my head out the door and go, Chippy, Kenny, you ready to go riding? April's here. And as soon as they hear April's here, oh, we're coming. Because it's such a fun space to be in. That's their incentive. And I don't tie my horses up to tack up. They just hang out. You know, I use positive reinforcement too, because it really works for us. And it's helped me get positive reinforcement has helped me get Kenny more comfortable with being saddled instead of a little snarky. You know, all these things. And then I pay attention to each piece as I'm putting my saddle on, the saddle pad, the saddle, the placement of everything. And I'm wondering to him and I'm asking about it. And is this comfortable? What else do you need to be comfortable? You know? And my horse stopped snarking at me. My horse stopped leaving when I got the saddle pad out. You know, all the things, because he just knows that I want to know. I want to know how he feels about everything. And he's reminding me to remind everyone that you don't have to be special. You don't have to be like Jana to do these things. You can learn it, but you have to start asking the questions, and you have to extend the invitation, and you have to be willing to wait, and you have to be willing to show up fully. You know, again, my horse's incentive to do things with us is because it's fun.
It's fun. Exactly. They love to engage. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that my horses have learned to think for themselves. And if they feel like I love this because I'll still space out and tune out. And all of a sudden I'll feel Kenny go, how can I get her attention? Ooh, there's the ball. And he'll just walk off towards the ball and poke it. And then he'll go, did you see that? Did you see what I did? And get all proud of himself. And then I realize, oh yeah, I tuned out. Sorry, I'm back. Here we go. What do you want to do next?
That's awesome. And that's what a good friend is. Like, they don't get mad. They're like, oh, wait, I need to tap her on the shoulder somehow, you know?
Right. And then because he initiated and I accepted the invitation, then I could say, hey, I'd like to invite you to go trot with me. Okay.
That's the best.
Right. You're right. It's like being a good friend. You got to keep the conversation going.
So is there anything else that he wants to share while he has the mic today?
Yes. You have to go slow to go fast. That's all he's going to tell you, because you need to take it and make it your own. You have to go slow to go fast. Make it your own.
Love it. Thank you so much, Jana. And now I want to just talk a little bit about your course coming up in the new year. I know you've had Toby help you create your original course, which I absolutely loved, and I got so much out of it. Even considering I've done animal communication for years, it really leveled me up. And I'm so excited that Kenny's inviting you to it even bigger, broader space. I wouldn't even say calling it level up. I would just say like expansion, right? So do you want to share a little bit about what's in store for that?
Yes. The date is still up in the air, so I will, if you're interested, reach out. What Kenny is bringing to this next level is, Toby was very much about connecting in through the heart, setting up your heart field, utilizing that energy to expand into, because it gives you a really safe, supported space to work in, right? Especially if you feel at loose ends. And Kenny has, because he's made me move into more of a space of telepathy, he's helping me to stretch my senses and really more deeply move into actively engaging all of my senses all the time, which, as we know, are called the clairs, the psychic senses. So our psychic senses are really just extensions of our physical senses, and then some. But he's been asking me to deepen into those and really work with those. So what's coming through to teach with animal communication is like this next deeper level of really moving into that space of reconnecting with our senses and then learning to move within them and stretch them and expand them even more, because we create a spaciousness for ourselves then where we can step into our authentic selves and create that expansion, recognize when things are starting to contract. You and I have been talking about that a lot.
Yes.
When things start to contract, okay, maybe I can shift over here into this sense instead because it's more expansive, and then everything starts to open up again. The other piece is what Kenny shared about clearing statements, being able to bring those clearing statements in as you learn and as you stretch, and start making those part of your everyday life so that you can move the doubt in the moment. You can recognize things in the moment, move things in the moment, and just start making it part of your everyday life and starting to see how animal communication just brings a whole other like level of awesome to your life, you know, like learning to like really live in this space, embody this space. Because if you're really sensitive like me, the world can get overwhelming really quick. But I know that I always, because my animals keep teaching me these things, they're teaching me how to trust those senses and feel into them. But I heard on a podcast recently, horses don't lie, people do. So a lot of times when we can really get into that spaciousness and really dial in our senses, know that we have that support from our animals, we can tell when somebody is not being true to themselves and trust what we're picking up. We're not in a space of judging how they're coming across, because that just speaks about what's going on in their life, right? It helps us really find and trust our own intuition and how we're moving through things, and it informs us, right? So just like, this is just my opinion, if we all opened back up to animals this way, I feel like it would just profoundly change the world. I feel that we've been so cut off from them that if more and more of us keep opening up to them,
They have
we
so
could
much
just
wisdom for us. Yeah.
profoundly better lives across the board, like in everything we do. They just continue to inform me every single day and help me see where I'm at and move through my frustrations and support me no matter what. Ever since I got my first corgi, I have not had a lonely day in 20 years. I have not felt lonely once because I always have them for support. Always. Whether they're here or in spirit, you can always count on them.
Yeah. And the best
And
thing to do is to honor them by doing your best to communicate more and have those exchanges to let them know that you care and you really want to enrich your lives together, right?
yes, yeah, that's what I was trying to articulate. The words just went.
It came to me, so I figured I'd just start speaking.
Good. It's so much easier when, you know, my animals just speaking on my behalf because they're so clear about it.
And I have to say, I think it's pretty brilliant that we're doing this because oftentimes, because we're so telepathic, it is hard for us to articulate in words what we're trying to say. So it's good for both of us to get it out. And I think it's
Yeah,
a
right.
really brave thing. You have all this courage inside of you that's bursting out because, this is a public podcast. So people get to hear all of these gorgeous insights, whether they want to take it or leave it. I really feel like if they take it in, it will help shift their world completely. And it's an honor to be able to connect with anyone listening. And even if we just made their day a little bit brighter, I think it's worth it, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Kenny. And thank you, Jana. I really appreciate you both.
He's so pleased with himself.
I love it. Well, hopefully we can continue this series. If you're up for it, we can do more with different animals of ours. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sweet.
I think Cordy wants to go next.
She's right behind me. She was sleeping during the whole thing. I let her stay in. And now she sat up. As soon as you started talking about your corgi, she actually woke up and went, "Yep, I'm here for my mama."
Wants to go next. She has a lot of, okay, put that on pause, please, Cordy.
Well, actually, let's give everyone a preview. What does she want to say for the next episode?
She has a lot of horse wisdom, she said. She might be in that dog body, but she's been a horse before.
That makes sense.
And she said that it's been really an education being in this smaller dog body because she remembers what it was like to have a larger body and bigger movement. And she still has that big movement in her little body. So there's something that she wants to share about, cliche term about size. Does not matter. Oh, does not matter your size because strength comes through integrity.
Say that one more time.
Does not matter what about size because strength comes through integrity.
Strength comes through integrity. I love it. Yes. And she is a big energy little dog. She's like 35 pounds. She's a Beagle Schnauzer cross, so they call it a Schniegel. And she's 5 years old. She was born in 2020. Yep. But we can talk to her next time. So thank you for that preview, Cordelia and Jana. I love it.
You're welcome. Well, I can't wait to hear what she's got to share about horses.
And at first, when she's talking about size matters not, all of a sudden my brain went Yoda. Because Star Wars.
Right.
And she knows how much we love.
Right.
This was awesome. Oh, I so appreciate your time, Jana. That was really fun. I hope everyone listening loved it just as much as me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for this.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks again for listening, and be sure to create a review if you felt inspired on whichever platform you're on. And remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. You can check out the website inspiredriding.com. And in the show notes, I will show you all the information on how to contact Jana so you can keep up with her new course coming up. Thanks again, and may the horse be with you always.